everyone and welcome in. I'm echohack and this is the Monk Guide for Season 1. First, a couple of quick notes about this guide itself. This guide is up to date for the launch of the game, so you can be sure that you're prepared for Diablo Immortal launch. You can find the written version of this guide at immortal.maxroll.gg. Woodajo and Facefoot are the main authors of the written guide, so all the recommendations in this guide are theirs. We'll keep you up to date as we discover new information about the game before and after launch. A new version of this video guide will be posted for Season 2, so make sure that you're subscribed for that. This guide is separated by chapters, so look below and click ahead to the part that you need. Let's head straight into the demonic hordes with this guide. With the power of 1001 gods in her fists, the monk weaves attacks together to destroy their foes, resulting in a fast, agile melee fighting style. They can engage and escape from combat at light speed, group enemies, and blow them up with an impressive array of area of effect abilities at their disposal. Meanwhile, their presence is always welcome in groups for their ability to shield and buff party members, making them survive better in difficult fights. The combat is action-packed, and you will weave different skills together to create devastating combos while dashing around the battlefield to strike at the right targets. All of this is done with the power of bare fists and a sheer will that only the monk is able to muster. This guide will teach you how to become a warping combat machine that outmaneuvers and outplays their foes unlike any other class. Monks are a melee damage class with the biggest arsenal of group support skills in the game. This does not force you to assume a dedicated support role in parties. In fact, you can carry your own weight in a group. Your support skills increase your viability and adds more exciting elements to the class. Even without going full support, you can give up a skill slot for Shield of Zen or Inner Sanctuary, especially with Empathy's Blessing, to protect or buff your teammates. Cyclone Strike is such an amazing skill to group up big packs of enemies that it's even worth using in solo play. The overall mobility of the monk is high, with Mystic Strike being an unparalleled tool to dash around in any direction, allowing you to control the battlefield. To go even faster, there are even more options such as Flying Kick, Intervening Law, Reaching Rebuke, and even your primary attack, Fists of Thunder, that come with extra utility. In PvP, you have the ability to quickly engage and crowd control your enemies, taking them by surprise with Imprisoned Fist, while shielding your team from incoming attacks. All in all, the monk is a well-rounded class with a great toolkit and varying playstyles in different types of content. While the monk has a variety of skills available to them, most of them are situational, which leads to less variety in actual builds. Especially in solo content, there is little variety because the DPS options are quite limited. While Exploding Palm is a satisfying and powerful ability to use, it's a standard pick that cannot be replaced. Similarly, it's difficult to give up on the great mobility given by Mystic Strike, because it enables you to continue your combos across the battlefield. Monk's main single target ability is Mystic Allies, a pet skill with a long cooldown that usually requires you to clean up most surrounding enemies before summoning them. If they get distracted, you can easily find yourself slowly chipping away at incredible tanky bosses. Lastly, you are required to sequence your skills in the right order for their most effective use, which both makes the class more difficult to play and vulnerable to interrupts, especially in PvP. Luckily, monk skills have short cooldowns, so you can get back into action quickly, even if you mess up your best wombo combo. What to expect as a monk: strengths, great mobility, high AoE damage, fast-paced combat, party buffs and shields, and pulls enemies together. For weaknesses, you're in melee range, you rely on skill combos, you require constant inputs, you have mediocre single target damage, and you have limited skill choices for solo play. Now let's talk about starting out. Starting out your monk on the right foot is key in order to make your character as powerful as possible. First, you want to find better equipment for your character. Your bag flashes when you pick up better equipment. Turn on auto pickup for all item types and settings, and periodically return to town to salvage and upgrade your items. Unlike Seven-Sided Strike, Mystic Strike, and Exploding Palm, these skills are great for blasting through the game. Claim the Battle Pass legendary item. Earning battle points unlocks special rewards, including an early legendary item that will increase your character's power. Choose wisely. Hunt legendary items. Keep a special eye out for Storm Spirit, Rod of Echoes, the Open Mind, and Dragon's Indignation. Find normal gems and legendary gems. Hidden Layers have a chance to drop normal gems, and if you use a crest, Elder Rifts have a chance to drop legendary gems. Unlock the Heliquary at level 41. Unlock the Heliquary as soon as you can so you can always receive Scoria from your daily activity rewards. Now let's get into the meat of this video, the builds. Our first build is our solo build, Blow 'em Up. This build achieves a balance between going fast and dealing high damage. It combines single target with AoE attacks to make sure you can clear anything in your way reasonably well. This build is great for bounties and dominates open world farming for monstrous essence and zone events. Quickly teleport around the map, group enemies up with Cyclone Strike, and blow them up! First for our skills. We have our primary attack, Fists of Thunder. This allows you to do a short range teleport, saving valuable cooldowns for a purpose while adding a bit of DPS. Mystic Strike, an indispensable movement skill that also deals damage, pulls enemies, and can charge up for multiple uses. Exploding Palm. Whenever you're fighting more than one enemy and finish another, this will hit like a truck with even more DPS when you're surrounded by enemies. Seven-Sided Strike. A great mix between single target and AoE that can finish off enemies and trigger Exploding Palm with ease. Cyclone Strike. Groups up enemies better than any other ability in the game. Can be charged up for a bigger effect. Now let's talk about our legendary items. For our head slot, we have Crippling Insight. Exploding Palm maximum charge is increased by 1. For our shoulder slot, Discipline's Weight. Seven-sided strike damage increased by 10%. For our main hand, we have Dragon's Indignation. Seven-sided strike turns to fire with additional burning effect. For our chest slot, use any legendary that you'd like. For legs, we have Path of the Storm. Cyclone Strike also temporarily reduces all damage you take by 20%. And finally, our offhand, Eye of the Storm. Cyclone Strike radius increased by 20%. Now let's talk about gameplay. Use Mystic Strike as much as possible for extra mobility to reach your destination. In boss fights, keep at least one charge ready at all times so that you can dodge incoming attacks. Drag enemies along to make a larger pull. Once you've decided where to fight, group up everything with Cyclone Strike. Apply Exploding Palm once or twice to the weaker enemies in the pull. Pop the palms with Seven-Sided Strike. If necessary, keep punching and reapply Exploding Palm for more booms. Either finish off whatever is left with a similar rotation, or move on to the next spot. On high HP targets like elites and bosses, use Fists of Thunder as much as possible while waiting for your cooldowns. Our group build Cyclone Machine focuses on speed, grouping enemies, and being useful to the team. You'll be scouting ahead to prepare the rest of the team to arrive and stack up pulled enemies while contributing damage yourself. First, let's talk about our skills. Our first skill is our primary attack, for Fists of Thunder. It allows you to do a short-range teleport, saving valuable cooldowns for that purpose, while adding a bit of DPS. Next up, we have Mystic Strike, an almost indispensable movement skill that also deals damage, pulls enemies, and can charge up for multiple uses. Exploding Palm. Whenever you're fighting more than one enemy and finish another, this will hit like a truck with added value when you have more enemies around you. Mystic Allies. They're great for single target to nuke down bosses and don't leave you helpless when you're on your own. Cyclone Strike. Groups up enemies unlike almost any other ability in the game. Can be charged up for a bigger effect. Now let's talk about our legendary items. In our helm slot, we have the Open Mind. Mystic Allies damage increased by 10%. For our shoulder slot, use any legendary that you'd like. For our main hand, use Rod of Echoes. Mystic Allies cooldown reduced by 15%. For our chest, use any chest slot you'd like. For our pants slot, use Companion's Melody. Mystic Allies duration increased by 25%. Finally, for our offhand, use Eye of the Storm. Cyclone Strike radius increased by 20%. Now let's talk about our gameplay. Use Mystic Strike as much as possible for extra mobility to reach your destination. In boss fights, keep at least one charge ready at all times so that you can dodge incoming attacks. Drag enemies along with you to make a larger pull. Once you've decided where to fight, group everything up with Cyclone Strike. Apply Exploding Palm once or twice to weaker enemies in the pull. Let your teammates pop the palms or do it with your own attacks and Mystic Allies. If necessary, keep punching and reapplying Exploding Palm for more booms. Either finish off whatever is left with a similar rotation or move on to the next spot. On high HP targets like elites and bosses, use Fists of Thunder as much as possible while waiting for your cooldowns. Now let's talk about our raid build, Tempest. The Heliquary, Path of Blood, and Kion's Ordeal all require you to fight difficult bosses that often demand special considerations. These bosses tend to hit extremely hard and will test your ability to survive as you chip away at them. With this in mind, you'll set yourself up more defensively so you're not just in the dirt right away, and rely on big DPS cooldowns while dodging attacks. First, let's talk about our skills. Our primary attack, Fists of Thunder. This allows you to do a short-range teleport, saving valuable cooldowns for that purpose while adding a bit of DPS. Next up, we have Mystic Strike, an indispensable movement skill that also deals damage, pulls enemies, and can charge up for multiple uses. While it doesn't have great offensive value in boss fights, it can be a great tool to move out of danger and quickly resume DPS. Seven-Sided Strike, a decent single target ability that also provides full damage immunity during its animation. Can be used both offensively and defensively with the right timing. Mystic Allies. They're great for single target to nuke down bosses and should especially be used when only the main target is present. Cyclone Strike. Storm Spirit makes this a powerful damaging skill. Use it on cooldown as much as you can. Now let's talk about our legendary items. Our helm slot is the Open Mind. Mystic Allies damage increased by 10%. Our shoulder slot, Discipline's Weight. 7-sided strike damage increased by 10%. For our main hand, we have Rod of Echoes. Mystic Allies cooldown reduced by 15%. Our chest slot, Storm Spirit. Cyclone Strike now generates a powerful tornado that continually damages all nearby enemies. For pants, Companion's Melody. Mystic Allies duration increased by 25%. Finally, for our offhand, we have Eye of the Storm. Cyclone Strike radius increased by 20%. Now let's talk about our gameplay. Keep Mystic Strike ready to dodge incoming attacks as much as possible. In tough boss fights, you can save valuable healing potions simply with good movement. Avoiding certain abilities that stun or interrupt you can actually lead to a DPS increase. Activate Cyclone Strike when you're sure the target will stay in its area of effect for around 6 seconds. This can also be used to clear potential adds regularly. Summon your Mystic Allies, if possible, when there's only your main target present. Use 7-sided strike on cooldown for more damage. In some cases, it can be wise to delay it for up to a few seconds to use its immunity phase for an incoming attack. Make sure you don't run out of health potions. If you get into big trouble, focus on dodging entirely and only deal damage with your long cooldowns. Whenever you have time to spare, use Fists of Thunder while waiting for cooldowns. Activate the ultimate when there's a lot of adds or if you need to use the shield. Now for our Challenge Rift build, Kaboom and Kapow. Challenge Rifts are all about being well-rounded so that you can survive, deal with large packs of monsters, as well as avoid painfully long boss fights. The basic concept is simple. Gather many enemies, blow them up with Exploding Palm while staying out of harm's way, and repeat. Mystic Allies will carry most of the damage on the boss. Now let's talk about our skills. Fist of Thunder is our primary attack. This allows you to do a short-range teleport, saving valuable cooldowns for that purpose while adding a bit of DPS. Mystic Strike. This is an indispensable movement skill that also deals damage, pulls enemies, and can charge up for multiple uses. Exploding Palm. Whenever you're fighting more than one enemy and finish another, this will hit like a truck with added value when you have more enemies around you. 7-sided strike. A great mix between single target and AoE that can finish off dispersed enemies and trigger Exploding Palm with ease. Mystic Allies. They're great for single target to nuke down bosses and should especially be used when only the main target is present. Now let's talk about our legendary items. First, for our helm slot, we have the Open Mind. Mystic Allies damage increased by 10%. For our shoulder slot, we have Discipline's Weight. 7-sided strike damage increased by 10%. For our main hand, we have Rod of Echoes. Mystic Allies cooldown reduced by 15%. For our chest slot, we have Breath of Incense. 7-sided strike can now trigger the Exploding Palm explosion when it kills bleeding enemies. For our pants, we have Companion's Melody. Mystic Allies duration increased by 25%. For our offhand, we have Scolding Storm. Exploding Palm is now icy and inflicts chill. Now let's talk about our gameplay. To complete rifts in a timely and efficient manner, you want to group up large packs of enemies and nuke them down together. It's important to find the right balance and not bite off more than you can chew. In general, rush past a few enemies to make them follow you, stay out of melee range while grouping them up, and then unleash your combos, rinse, and repeat. Use Mystic Strike for extra mobility to explore and engage lots of enemies. Always keep at least one charge ready so that you can get out of danger or dodge incoming attacks. Drag enemies along to make a larger pull. Make sure you don't lose some on the way when you run really far. Once you're ready to fight, apply Exploding Palm once or twice to the weaker enemies in the pull. Pop the palms with 7-sided strike. If necessary, keep punching and reapplying Exploding Palm for more booms. When there are elites around, use Mystic Allies for extra DPS after most of the trash monsters are taken care of. Either finish off whatever's left with a similar rotation or move on to the next spot. On high HP targets like elites and bosses, use Fists of Thunder as much as possible while waiting for cooldowns. Now let's talk about our PvP build for Monk, Spirit Ninja. Spirit Ninja is a build focused around fast and mobile group-oriented PvP. Engage your opponents with Imprisoned Fist and then blast them down with 7-sided strike. First, let's talk about our skills. Our primary attack is Fists of Thunder. It allows you to do a short-range teleport, saving valuable cooldowns for that purpose, while adding a bit of DPS. Mystic Strike, an indispensable movement skill that also deals damage and can charge up from multiple uses. Imprisoned Fist. Especially in team combat and against ranged classes, landing a successful immobilize can be a death sentence. Likewise, it's great to make an escape or heal up with bandages against a melee opponent. 7-sided strike. has great damage while also making you invincible for its duration. This will be your main nuke ability. Shield of Zen. This is an incredibly defensive tool in PvP. Use this to remove harmful effects from your entire team. Now let's talk about our legendary items. For our helm slot, we have Purity's Thoughts. Shield of Zen now also dispels a harmful effect from the target. For our shoulder slot, we have the First Wind. Each hit of 7-sided strike also temporarily reduces all damage you take. For our main hand, we have Ice Upon the Blossom. 7-sided strike turns to ice damage with chilling effect. For our chest slot, we have Enlightenment's Blessing. During Shield of Zen, your movement speed is increased by 25%, and you can move unhindered through enemies. For our pants slot, we have Isolation's Path. Imprisoned Fist, maximum charges increased by 1. And finally, for our offhand, we have Wisdom's Grasp. Imprisoned Fist damage increased by 10%. Now let's talk about our gameplay. Use Mystic Strike for mobility to engage, dodge attacks, and disengage again. If you're confident in a fast victory, you can also dash in with multiple charges to take them by surprise. Use Imprisoned Fist to get a hold of a target and unleash your attacks on it. This should be your opener after you manage to close the gap to your target. Be aware that this is not incapacitating your enemy, so they can still strike back during this effect. Defensively, it can be a great tool to make an escape and to heal up. You've used 7-sided strike to deal damage. If you can predict an enemy attack, you can even avoid it entirely with its immunity phase. Use Fists of Thunder to deal extra damage for more short-range teleports. This isn't a high priority as you generally want to play around with your cooldowns. Now let's talk about our recommended set items for the Monk. Isatar Imbued is a great set for monks due to the fast-paced playstyle, weaving attacks into each other at light speed. For our 3 set items equipped bonus, we have increased all damage you deal by 10% for 1 second after using a non-channeled skill. For our 6-second items equipped bonus, increases your critical strike chance by 15% for 1 second after using a non-channeled skill. Now let's talk about our starter legendary gems. You'll want to start your build with these easy to obtain 1 and 2-star legendary gems. First up, we have Everlasting Torment. This deals incredible damage over time after a critical hit. For a simple 1-star legendary gem, this packs a punch. Fervent Fang. This does fantastic single target damage. It can easily be acquired from the Battle Pass without relying on luck from crests. Berserker's Eye. This provides an increased damage in all cases if you're willing to take a little bit more risk. This trade-off works well for this build. Lightning Core does direct damage to an enemy group, often wiping them out in the process. While the damage is infrequent, it's useful for taking down larger targets. Seled's Weakening gives a frequent damage boost anytime you kill elites, making it have natural synergy with any monk build. And finally, Chain Death gives a solid damage boost, especially in AoE situations. Now let's talk about our best-in-slot legendary gems. Legendary gems provide incredible stat bonuses and unique effects. They're found as a reward after completing an Elder Rift that's enhanced with a legendary crest. Many of them are also crafted using runes and platinum at the jeweler in Westmarch. Bloodsoaked Jade is the best legendary gem in the game. It provides massive damage and movement speed in a single package. Seeping Bile has poison that is devastating in large densities like Elder and Challenge Rifts. Any AoE ability will trigger it over and over again, making this one of the most impactful legendary gems in the game. Blessing of the Worthy is a monk's best friend because you're constantly in melee range of enemies. Any damage taken activates devastating damage every 15 seconds, obliterating anything nearby. Howler's Call blasts your enemies from incredible range and is triggered by any primary attack. This adds an important ranged attack to your arsenal that triggers off of your already stacked rotation. Frozen Heart provides great damage reduction versus ranged enemies. It's hard to beat percentage-based damage reduction. Chip of Stone Flesh has a chance to petrify a target and gives you a damage boost on top of it. Petrifying enemies can keep you alive in a challenge rift or secure a kill in PvP, making this an incredible choice. Now let's take a look at every skill available for the monk. This section is for your reference so you can make your own builds. Deadly Reach. Project lines of piercing force that deal damage to the target and damage to enemies behind the target. Its ultimate is Release Force. Enhance Deadly Reach for 12 seconds, increasing its damage per hit and causing it to knock enemies away. You also gain a shield which absorbs damage equal to 20% of your maximum life for 3 seconds. Fists of Thunder. Teleport to a nearby enemy and unleash rapid succession of punches that each deal damage. You can teleport again after every 3rd hit. Its ultimate is Lightning Flux. Enhance Fists of Thunder for 12 seconds, teleporting to an enemy on each hit, increasing damage per hit and generating a thunderstorm each time you defeat an enemy. Thunderstorms deal damage to all nearby enemies and knock them away. You also gain a shield which absorbs damage equal to 20% of your maximum life for 3 seconds. Cyclone Strike. Generate a vortex of wind which pulls in enemies and deals damage. Charging longer increases range and damage. Exploding Palm. Attack enemies in a direction for damage and inflict bleeding on them for 5 seconds. Enemies that die while bleeding will explode for damage to all nearby enemies. Maximum 2 charges. Enemies can only be hit 5 times within 1 second by these explosions. Starting with Explosion 2 and beyond, take only 30% of normal damage. Flying Dragon. Soar into the sky, pulling along all nearby enemies and dealing damage to all nearby enemies at your destination. Flying Kick. Kick forward, dealing damage to enemies in your path and knocking them away. Flying Kick can rebound off walls for additional damage to all nearby enemies. Maximum 3 charges. Players may only be affected once every 3 seconds by Flying Kick. Imprisoned Fist. Attack enemies in a direction for damage and immobilize them for 5 seconds. Inner Sanctuary. Place a runic circle of protection for 9.2 seconds that reduces all damage taken by you and your allies within the circle by 50%. Mystic Allies. Summon 2 spirit allies to fight by your side for 10 seconds. They deal damage with each attack and have life equal to yours. Mystic Strike. Dash forward 4.5 yards and leave a spirit behind that will return, pulling all enemies in its path to you and dealing damage. Maximum 3 charges. 7-sided Strike. Dash rapidly between nearby enemies, striking 7 times for damage per hit. Additional hits on the same target deal 50% as much damage. Shield of Zen. Protect yourself or an ally with a shield that absorbs damage for 5 seconds. The shield also prevents all effects which cause loss of control of a character. Protecting an ally will cause you to charge to their location and grant you both this shield. Wave of Light. Crush enemies in an area with a focused wave of light for damage. Maximum 2 charges. Wave Strike. Unleash a wave of energy, carrying enemies hit within it and exploding for damage to all nearby enemies at its maximum range. Charging longer increases range and damage. When fully charged, the wave will also knock enemies away. Now let's take a look at every legendary available in the game for Monk. This section is for your reference to help you plan out your own builds. Let's begin. Crippling Insight. Exploding Palm maximum charges increased by 1. Empathy's Blessing. Inner Sanctuary is now Blessed Sanctuary, increasing all damage done by you and your allies while within the circle. Solace of the Peaks. Inner Sanctuary becomes a chilling circle, continually damage and chilling enemies with it, but no longer protecting you or your allies. Tranquility's Gaze. Inner Sanctuary now stuns and damages enemies that enter or exit the circle, but no longer protects you or your allies. The Open Mind. Mystic allies damage increased by 10%. Purity's Thought. Shield of Zen now also dispels a harmful effect from the target. Judgment's Watch. Inner Sanctuary now continually damages all enemies within it, but no longer protects you or your allies. Mantle of the Crane. Flying Kick range increased by 20%. Heaven's Bonds. Wave of Light now drops a golden bell from the sky, immobilizing all enemies in the area. Rising Tide. Imprisoned Fist now causes you to leap through the air with electricity, damaging and immobilizing nearby enemies where you land. Discipline's Weight. 7-sided strike damage increased by 10%. The First Wind. Each hit of 7-sided strike also temporarily decreases all damage you take by 3.5%, stacking up to 7 times. Radiant Sun. Wave of Light now summons an Echo Bell, inflicting continuous damage on all nearby enemies. Freedom's Gale. Imprisoned Fist now knocks surrounding enemies into the air and stuns them, but no longer immobilizes. Tempest's Heart. Cyclone Strike now causes you to become a vortex that pulls in enemies and then detonates, damaging and knocking away all nearby enemies. Storm Spirit. Cyclone Strike now generates a powerful tornado that continually damages all nearby enemies. Resounding Soul. Wave Strike damage increased by 10%. Breath of Incense. 7-sided strike can now trigger the Exploding Palm explosion when it kills bleeding enemies. Harmony's Song. Wave of Light range increased by 20%. Disciplined Respite. Inner Sanctuary cooldown decreased by 15%. Enlightenment's Blessing. During Shield of Zen, your movement speed is increased by 25%, and you can move unhindered through enemies. Tiger's Flight. Flying Kick now generates a flaming tornado that damages enemies in its path. Path of the Storm. Cyclone Strike also temporarily decreases all damage you take by 20%. Grace's Bounty. Flying Kick becomes Spinning Kick, damaging all nearby enemies. Momentum's Flow. Flying Kick now unleashes a series of kicks at enemies in a direction, with the final kick knocking enemies away. Chastising Radiance. Wave of Light damage increased by 10%. Isolation's Path. Imprisoned Fist maximum charges increased by 1. Companion's Melody. Mystic Allies duration increased by 25%. Unshakable Weight. Wave Strike range increased by 20%. Ice Upon the Blossom. 7-sided strike turns to ice damage with chilling effect. Spirit's Reach. 7-sided strike now places a runic circle inside which all enemies will be struck by your spirit allies. Dragon's Indignation. 7-sided strike now also continually burns enemies. Rod of Echoes. Mystic allies cooldown decreased by 15%. Intervening Law. Shield of Zen now causes you to charge to a target location, granting you and all nearby allies a shield that absorbs damage. Fires of Peace. Shield of Zen doesn't shield you anymore, but periodically deals damage to nearby enemies. Power of Undulation. Wave Strike now continually channels energy waves forward. Spokes of the Wheel. Flying Kick also temporarily increases all damage you deal by 10%. Eye of the Storm. Cyclone strike radius increased by 20%. Roar of the Sea. Wave Strike now quickly gathers energy and generates Wave Explosion. Reaching Rebuke. Exploding Palm now launches you at a location and strikes that area with a giant palm as you land, damaging all nearby enemies, but its cooldown is increased. Respite's Sigh. Inner Sanctuary duration increased by 30%. Scolding Storm. Exploding Palm is now icy and inflicts chill. That's it for this monk guide for Diablo Immortal Season 1. Are you prepared for Diablo Immortal launch? What's your favorite monk build? Tell me in the comments down below. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.